Welcome to Yoga for Teachers. This is going to be a more instructional class than normal. It's going to benefit those of you who are learning how to teach yoga. I'm going to go over the parts and what we're doing and how and all that. And for those of you who just take yoga, you will benefit from the extra cues that we'll be getting this time around. All right? And it's going to be a full hour-long video today. Let's start seated. And we begin every yoga class with what's called grounding. So just whatever's comfortable. Some days it feels better to be here. Any props that we need always help. Okay. And let's just make sure that our sit bones are on whatever surface that we're sitting on. And this can be done from a chair as well. So we want to begin stacking our joints, shoulders over hips, navel drawing in just slightly, lifting our chest, and then relaxing our shoulders down. And just finding a comfortable, easy seat here. And then we usually close our eyes just to draw our awareness into our own body, away from whatever's going on outside of us, drawing it in, and then checking in with how our body is feeling at this particular moment, and remembering that this is where we're going to work from today. So whatever we feel in this scan today is what we're going to work from when we begin to move. And then we want to remember that our yogic breathing is in and out through the nose. And I always begin with deep belly breaths, because that's the most relaxing breath to the human body. It's a nice clearing, cleaning breath. And again, relaxing, putting us in a good mindset for our yoga practice. So just taking as many breaths here into the belly as we feel that we need. And then we'll switch this over to the most basic breathing technique that we use in our yoga classes, and that is a 3-part breath. So on the 3-part breath, we inhale, filling up the belly. Then we feel the ribs expand and the heart lift. And then with our exhale, the heart lowers, the ribs contract back in, and finally the belly. So we cue this by saying inhale belly, ribs, heart, and exhale heart, ribs, and belly. And then we just continue this 3-part breathing, continuing to ground ourselves, center ourselves, focus ourselves on today's practice. And as part of that, we let go of any judgments of ourselves, of our body, any judgments we have about the people around us. And we also want to let go of the judgments that we perceive they're making about us. Let it all go. In keeping with that, we also want to let go of expectations. Maybe yesterday when we did some of the things we're about to do, we were able to really do good. And today, maybe our knee is hurting, or we're just not, quite awake as we were yesterday. So no expectations about what's going to happen today. It's a different day, different things are going on. And we give ourselves about 3 to 5 minutes on this grounding, centering, focusing. And then we begin our movement. And basic yoga or any exercise warm-up is going to begin with forward and back movement of the spine. So we inhale up tall, exhale and fold forward. Inhale up long, and exhale forward. And here again, we just do this as long as we need to really start feeling some heat from our sit bones out to the crown of our head, because we're moving the whole spine from tailbone to crown of the head. So proper warm-up of the spine starts this direction first, and then it moves into side-to-side movement. Here again, from that one sit bone out through the shoulder, and of course we're getting a little bit of arm as we're reaching up here, but our spine gets to warm up side to side. We've got a lot of muscles that go around what's called our core, from those sit bones to the shoulders. And then the final movement that our core can make is revolving or twisting. So a simple one is to inhale up, exhale, one hand down in front, one behind. Inhale, lengthen up tall, exhale and twist. And hopefully we've created some heat in our body. Let's come back to the center because we want to do both even. And then we'll come over to hands and knees. And let's just take some spinal elongation, or extending one leg back, opposite hand forward, and just kind of feel everything pulling away, lengthening out through the spine, coming back and switching sides. So we get all those erector spinae muscles along the spine. And then press back to child's pose, where we can release. This is a deep forward fold. And we want to take our hands out from here, shoulder distant, and spread the fingers wide because we're about to come up on our hands. Warming up our upper body. This is chest, upper back, shoulders, arms. We're going to inhale forward. And a little bit of transverse abdominis, deep abdominal muscles in our plank here. We're going to exhale, lower down any amount. It can be just an inch or two. Inhale, push up, and exhale, press back. So moving with our own breath, we're going to inhale forward, exhale lower, inhale, push up, exhale back. Since this is a warm-up, we stay on our knees. This is just checking in with our upper body, getting it ready for more rigorous work. And then we'll make our way back to child's pose for a little rest. And some of us may prefer to take it to downward facing dog. So when we're ready to move on, we're going to start to walk with hands and feet together until we're in a standing forward fold. And we can hang out here, rocking side to side, holding on to our elbows maybe. And we can even rock forward and back. Let's make our way up to our mountain. And we're going to inhale our arms overhead, exhaling hands to our heart while we shift our hips back. So this is our chair pose, and we're going to flow here, warming up the lower body, legs, glutes. Inhale up, exhale, sit the hips back. Inhale, squeeze the glutes, exhale, come back. Big circle sweep of the arms to get the shoulders warmed up. And let's inhale up, exhaling to our mountain. So we've gone about 10 minutes for our warm-up. This is a good chance to get some water, take a quick break. If we ever wanted to do some sun salutations, this is where we would do them. For the senior classes that I teach, I usually don't do them unless we're in person. From here, we're going to move on to the more rigorous work of our practice. Let's go ahead and get the upper body and core portion out of the way. So we're going to step to the top edge of our mat, finding our mountain pose. Let's also remember that 3-part breath. So we're going to inhale belly, ribs and heart. Exhale, heart, ribs and belly. Inhaling the arms up and exhale, forward fold. Let's step back to hands and knees first. And we'll take it kind of close to the top of our mat. We want to start our plank pose in our cat pose, separating our shoulder blades, lifting our chest, lifting our belly, and then we'll step back. Now, one thing we want to be careful of is that we're not basically in a downward dog or an upward facing dog. Oh, that hurts. That's why. So we're going to be here with hips level with our shoulders, or if we need to, we're going to be here. And we can always start on the toes, come to the knees. But let's see if we can make 5 breaths here. We probably already have. So we'll take it back to child's pose, or remember, we can lift up to downward facing dog. And then stay there as long as you feel like you need to. Let's look at our next plank. We're gonna lower down onto our elbows. Now, one way that we know that we have our elbows in at hip distance is if we hold onto them with our hands, they're gonna line up right underneath our shoulders. Then we'll open up our forearms parallel, make sure the knees are under the hips. Let's find our cat. Separate the shoulder blades, and again, we'll step back onto the toes, but not too high, not too low. On the knees if we need to. Lifting up. So we want to breathe into the top of our lungs. And then we'll find our child's pose or the downward dog, whichever one we're feeling. And I always do these 3 times. And on this 3rd time, sometimes people, their wrists don't like being up in the full, so they'll do the forearm again. But we can also, if that's not an issue, I always challenge people to pick the one of those 2 variations that was their more challenging. That way, they get stronger. And since forearms is more challenging for me, that's where I'll go today. Stepping back and breathing. And of course, if people want to come out of it sooner, they can. Those who've been at this a while can probably stay in it longer. But again, about 5 breaths at the most. Then we want to find that child's pose, or remember, downward facing dog. Now let's walk our hands and feet together, standing forward fold. With bent knees, let's make our way up to mountain. And again, good time to get some water. Arm balances get our heart rate up. So, should be breathing a little heavier. It's part of our cardio in our yoga class. So get some water if you need it. And we'll find mountain at the top edge of our mat. From here, we're going to slide 1 foot back to warrior 1. And we'll stay in our warrior 1 pose for our work phase today. Let's bring hands to our hips, straightening the front leg. And we're going to come into our pyramid. So let's draw this back forward a little bit. We call that scissoring. And walk our hands forward. We can hold on to ourselves. Some people can reach the floor. If you happen to have blocks handy, I love to put a block on each side. In fact, I think I'll do that. Put a block on each side of the foot. This is a nice, fun way to do this pose. But for the most part, let's think about using our own body as our prop. We can also turn this toe out a little bit more. And we can think about sinking. Let's go ahead and bring our spine parallel to the floor. Same side hand is going to land wherever it just naturally lands. And then we're going to take it through the shoulders to our triangle, where we can extend or not. And again, I also like taking a block here. Oh, that's nice. So we should, wherever we are in this pose, we should be able to get our 3-part breath. We want to think about our spine being parallel to the floor. Let's go ahead and unwind from here and back to pyramid. And we'll bring it back up to warrior 1. Remember, we can always adjust as we need. Let's lower our elbows down and push them back, opening up our chest for a moment. Making sure that we keep loose fingers. We don't want to ever clench or tighten. Keep it loose. And we can revolve this by bringing the opposite shoulder toward that front knee. Of course, if we don't like keeping the hands up, we can also keep them on our hips. let's unwind from here. We're going to straighten out the front leg and come forward again, pyramid pose. And even though this leg is straight, we still want a micro bend, okay? We don't want to walk it out. We want to keep a micro bend. Now let's lift ourselves up parallel to the floor again. We're going to take the opposite hand wherever it naturally lands, and then roll the other hand around behind us as far as possible, revolving our triangle. All right, let's unwind from there back to pyramid and making our way up to mountain pose or warrior one and then mountain. And just take a moment here. That was a lot of stretching on that front leg. Shake everything out. Another good time for some water. And then when I'm teaching, I also turn my body the way I am for the camera, because the audience is usually, or the class is usually out this way. So that way they can see everything that they need to see. So let's find our mountain pose again. Nice and tall, 3-part breaths. Sliding the other foot back, warrior one. Wherever we are in any pose, we should be able to breathe easily. And bringing hands to our hips, let's straighten the front leg. Start to scissor this hip forward, other hip back. And we will find our way into our pyramid pose on this side. Now, we might be able to get further on this side than we did on the other one. We might not get as far on this side. So again, no expectations. No judgments, it just is what it is. Now let's come up halfway, same side hand wherever it naturally lands. Focus on moving the shoulders to find our triangle. Turning that foot out a little bit if we need to. We can even give ourselves a little more room if we need to. I think this hip needs a little more room. And breathe. Let's go ahead and unwind back to the pyramid. Making our way back up. Warrior one, and this time with the elbows out and open. Let's go ahead and revolve this, opposite shoulder coming forward. Again, hands wherever it works for us. Unwind. Now let's straighten out that front leg again, and we'll find pyramid. Bringing ourselves up halfway, opposite hand wherever it naturally lands. Let's roll the other hand around. We're involving our triangle. Unwinding back to pyramid. Making our way back up, whatever time it takes, to our warrior one. And stepping up to our mountain. And here again, shaking it all out. Sometimes, most people like to do some hip circles. So I'll throw those in there once in a while or more. So we're going to stand up tall, work on some stretches here standing. So if our balance is okay, we're going to bring our feet together, reach our arms overhead. So we can adjust this as we go. We're going to inhale up and over, but we might feel better balanced if our feet are hip distant. We might feel better if we've got our hands separated any amount. So just kind of find, let's all kind of find what works for us, where we can still breathe and get that whole side of our body opened up. And of course you can switch it up. Let's come back up tall. We're going to reach up and over to the other side. So here it is all together. And of course, we've got our variations. And we hold most of these poses about 5 breaths. Let's take a back bend, standing back bend. And back bends also get our heart rate up. So I may have a little trouble talking after this one. Easy fists on our bottom. Place them right there. Lengthening up, up, up. And then we may just stop right here. But we also might push our fists into our hips, lengthening up and a little further back. We want to keep a slight tuck to our chin as if we were holding an orange right here. So we don't ever want to strain our neck. We want to keep it pulled in. And we also don't even need to go so far forward. We can keep our gaze straight ahead. Now let's bring ourselves back up, shaking that out. So we're going to move into our balance portion of class. And I always recommend getting near a wall or having a chair nearby or something, just in case, because you never know. We're just going to stick with tree pose today, our most basic standing pose, or balance pose. So for that, we want to start in our mountain. For balance poses, we want to keep our core engaged. We want to keep it engaged. And we want to find something in front of us that's not moving to really focus on. That really helps. Our balance is totally tied in to our vision and our focus. So let's find that focal point, shift our weight over to one leg, and we're going to turn the other foot way out, the knee way out, and then we're going to come back. So we can always keep the toes down, hands wherever we need them for our own balance. I'm used to doing it this way, so I'm best balanced here, but if you're at a wall, have it on the wall. Sometimes arms out is better. Let's see if we can take our foot onto our calf, below the knee, or if I didn't have such slick clothes on, I could probably do this above the knee. Just don't push on, the standing knee. Don't push on the knee, stay below it if you can't get above it. And then, of course, we can have any kind of expression of tree that we want. That's what it is, I need to focus. See, as soon as I focus, it's good. All right, let's go ahead and release from there, shake it out. That standing leg just did a lot of work. So let's get that mountain, and we'll see if I can't stay focused this time on that thing that's not moving. Let's shift over, turn the knee way out, and again, bring the foot in, keeping the toes down, foot below the knee or above it, just not on the knee. And some days are better than others. This is one of those places where you're going to find one side tends to be stronger or better balanced than the other. So again, let go of the expectations based on what one side was like. Let go of any judgments. There we go. All right, release that, shake it out. So we're a little bit before, we've only been about 25 minutes, so that's fine. We can have a lot longer deep stretch portion of our class. So get some water, and we'll meet in our mountain pose at the top edge of our mat. Joining in our 3-part breath. And this is a point in class that I also like sometimes to say, all right, let's check in with our body again, see how it's feeling. Because we've just done a lot of work. I know right now compared to the beginning class, I'm really hot. I'm feeling a few different things in my legs than I did before. So just another assessment of the body, some deep breaths. And then on an inhale, let's sweep our arms up. Exhale into our forward fold. And we'll step back to our hands and knees, and we're going to come on onto our belly. So this is an area where we're going to look at some back bends, untucking our toes. Let's inhale forward and up, elbows under our shoulders. Now there's an inclination here to sink, but what we want to do is pull our shoulders down and the crown of our head up. And then we can kind of pull on the floor, pull ourselves forward and up a little more. So everything from the hips down should be relaxed. And we're pulling forward and up, not sinking, and keeping our gaze straight ahead. Now sometimes if you want to, you can add a little side turn of the head here. If you do this pose 2 days in a row, just to mix it up. Coming back here, straight ahead, let's lower down. And we can either take our hands by our side, head to one side. I personally prefer to stack the arms and rest the head on the top arm. Now the thing is here, we want to let go our glutes, let go our back. And this is a good place to do belly breathing. Push the belly into the floor, because again, it's a relaxing breath. And this is a way, this pose is a place to articulate that belly breath. It also encourages us to release all those muscles in our backside. This is also a place where I like to have people check in with their lower back, see how it's feeling. Because when we come into our next pose, and we'll do 3, if they're feeling like they need the support, they can always come back to this again. But let's look at building some strength in the lower back muscles with our cobra pose. So snakes don't have hands. We're going to inhale forward and up. See if we can hold. Breathing into the top of our lungs. Not really the belly right now. Whew, nope, not the belly. And again, about 5 breaths. And then we'll come down and rest. Releasing the glutes. Releasing in our lower back. And just like other poses, we want to hold this one 3 to 5 breaths as well. Rest is very important as part of our workouts. So let's come back. We're going to come back to that supported Sphinx pose. Elbows under the shoulders. And again, drawing down and up. Checking in with the lower back. And then a variation here might be to lift the feet toward the head. But remember, keep lifting up forward. Let's lower down one more time, 3 to 5 breaths here. And when we're ready to bring it up, we'll bring hands underneath the shoulders, push ourselves up. And now we'll come around and have a seat. So now we'll do a few basic seated poses. And let's go ahead and begin with the legs out wide. We'll do a little wide leg variation this time. So we just did a lot of back bending and opening. So we're good for forward folds. Let's come forward. And here again, it's going to depend on each person. Some of us may have the knees more bent. We might even use some kind of prop, you know, pillows, folded up towels, blocks underneath our knees. So these are just some variations that we can do on this. Staying up higher, coming down lower. Just kind of feeling ourselves into this pose. Now let's go ahead and come up, and we're going to turn ourselves out over one leg, letting our belly come first, then our heart, adjusting as we need to, and coming forward. So we don't ever want to just bend into one of these things or take our nose straight down. We want to come with a long spine. And then just let the nose sink toward the knee. And we're just going to go ahead and lift up, take it to the other side, same thing. Keep the spine long, and then let the nose sink. Go ahead and come back up. So with our deep stretches, we may hold them even longer if we want to. Yin yoga is a practice of holding a pose for like several minutes, but that's usually with supports underneath our body in the poses. Let's inhale up and then take it sideways out over the leg. So if you wanted to, you can hold the poses, these stretches, a little bit longer. That helps us increase flexibility and hence mobility at our joints. So variations on this would include reaching a little further over. Some people can get that far. But the safest way to do this is to keep reaching for the ceiling, folding over toward the foot. We still get a lot of opening along the side of our body if we just keep reaching for the ceiling. Now let's go ahead and take this to the other side. Same thing, reach to the ceiling, slide the hand toward the foot. And then just kind of play around with it on your own where you want to go with it. Now when I'm teaching, I usually kind of stay in what would be the most safe variation of a pose, or maybe the middle line. We'll look at one here in a moment where I will stay in the middle variation, partly because it's the one that's best for me. Now let's come back here. So since we have done some forward folding, let's do a little bit of opening, and we'll do a very basic opening this first time. Seated in our staff pose. Let's take our hands behind us, fingertips in toward our feet, and about the distance of one of our own hands back. We're going to press open right here, just opening our heart here. Now a variation of this for those who don't want to torque out the wrists like that is to use our fists. So just feeling that opening across the chest. I'm going to go back here because that feels better for me. And release. So let's come back to an easy seat. So this is where I said I was going to kind of stay in the middle. Easy seat is our first variation, and let's just kind of take it to our stacked leg version with one calf on top of the other. They call this fire log because it's like fire logs stacked on each other, and fire just popped for us, so there we go. Now there is a third variation of the feet, which comes here, but most people are going to be here. Well, most of them are going to be here or here. So like I said, I'm going to stay here in the middle, one leg stacked on top of the other, and our double pigeon is the official name, or fire log pose. And this is just coming forward. For those who are in the stacked version, you're gonna feel the hip of that top leg a lot more intensely than if it's just laying in front of the other leg. That's why I like this variation. It gets us in good alignment and helps open up that hip. All right, now when we come up from this, we can leave the legs like this or go back to the easy seat with that leg in front. And I think I'll go ahead and do that today. Getting grounded through our sit bones. So the opposite hand of whichever leg is in front or on top, we're gonna reach that hand up, lengthen our spine, and just do an easy twist. So we're here, or we're here in this twist. So let's unwind from here and get the legs a little break. And then we're going to do that on the other side. So easy seat with the other leg in front. We can do that scrunched up version, which you don't need to worry about, or the stack. And then fold forward. Remembering we should be able to do our 3-part breath in these. 5 breaths or longer, depending on how you're feeling. I usually count the breaths on one side and do the same number on the other side. And then we'll bring it up. Switch up the feet if we need to for our twist. Inhale up, exhale, twist to the other side. Let's go ahead and open up our chest one more time here. We're going to go back to that pose that we were in before with some options. So just staying here, and a lot of people are going to stay right here. Our highest intensity option is our incline plank. And again, I go in the middle with our tabletops, the feet just in front of where they are, hip distance apart. So when we lift up, knees should be over the ankles and shoulders over the wrists. And again, we don't want to let the head back. Pretend you're holding that orange. Kind of work on lifting the hips up. And release. Shake that out. And here we are. We've done about 10 minutes of all those deep stretches that we've done so far. We're going to spend the next 10 minutes on the floor, and the best way to get there is to keep one leg extended, both hands underneath one tucked knee, tuck the tailbone, and just gently roll down to the floor. And then once we're there, just let it all shake out. One thing about it, our head is now on the floor. We want to give it a chance and our blood a chance to kind of even out. Plus it's fun to just kind of kick everything out. Now let's go ahead and check in with our bridge pose, another back bend. The best way for this one is hands by our side, walking our feet back until we can touch our fingertips and our heels. I always have this beside because I'm having a little tightness in one of my hips. So we're going to lift our hips up where we can hang out But like I said, to help take care of my body these days, I'm going to place this right underneath the pelvic bone. 3-part breathing here. We've got our chest, our belly, everything open. Let's take advantage of that with some deep 3-part breaths. And we'll only stay in this one for about 5 breaths, which you all probably have already done. So let's lower down. And then we're going to take it to an inversion. So for most of the classes I teach, this is our inversion, feet in the air. So we can play around with rotating at the ankles. We're going to stay in our inversion. We want to stay in it at least 3 minutes, literal minutes, for the benefits of an inversion to take place. That is drawing lymph and other fluids from our toes and feet all the way back, because that lymph has to hitch a ride on our blood vessels to come back for elimination. The toxins in our body, our lymph nodes are our immune system. So this helps stimulate our immune system. A full inversion helps stimulate our brain, but it also helps relieve any swelling, varicose veins, anything like that that are in our legs. So we can play around with some movement like that, but we're also going to take it to our hip opener. I call this one figure 4 because that's what everybody else does. It looks like that number 4, but it's also an upside down pigeon. We want to keep this knee here. A lot of people will cue you to reach the hands in between clasp and then push this elbow in here to hug in, but that's actually a strain on this hip, the muscle that we're stretching. So we always want to keep this knee in closer than this foot. So it's best to reach straight out for the both thighs and hug in, keeping that knee in a little closer. And then I always give options if they want to go deeper to lift the nose up toward the knee. But just think about hugging it in. We want both feet relaxed. They'll sometimes tell you to flex the foot of the bent knee, but that again puts too much of a strain on these muscles. So just keep the foot relaxed. Kind of like what they call Barbie doll feet. Kind of like you're in a high heel shoe. Just relaxed. And here we want to breathe deeply. And again, we'll hold this for 5 breaths or longer, depending on how you're feeling. And then we'll take our feet up to the ceiling, hold on to the outer thighs, and open them up into a V shape, I call it. Now we can keep the hands there for support, but I like to take them around to the thighs to assist gravity in opening up. So we're getting some inner and outer hip openers here. Inner hips here, outer hips on the other one. Plus our feet are still above our heart, so we're in our inversion. So this is a way to keep from getting bored in that inversion. Let's go ahead and bring the feet back up, crossing the other leg over in our figure 4. Again, reach straight out, hug the thighs in, keeping that knee in close, foot relaxed, kind of like our Barbie doll shoe. And in these poses, we should be able to breathe easily. And of course, after we're finished with that, we're going to take it one more time into that V, where we can still move the feet in various ways or be still. Yogi's choice. Oops. And then we'll hug in. So our knees and feet are still above our heart, so we're still kind of in an inversion here. Let's go ahead and bring our feet down. We're going to come into a basic, very simple twist at this point. So arms wide, palm down if we can get them down, up otherwise, depending on our shoulders. And we just start with our knees hugged in and drop them to the side. Now let's just make sure we wiggle and get both shoulders down. This is a place where if knees don't come all the way down, we can put something underneath them. It's always kind of cool to put something between them. So this is some places that people can use their blankets, roll up towels and things like that. Five or more breaths, maybe even 10. This is a nice, relaxing, restorative pose. So we can hold it a little bit longer probably. When we're ready to come out, let's press our navel in to bring ourselves up. And then we'll take our legs down the floor, arms overhead. That way we straighten our spine back out, stretching out all those muscles. And then we'll hug the knees in again. Getting ready for our twist, arms wide. Now let's drop to the other side. Where again, we can use props as necessary. Wiggle the arms so that both shoulders are down. And breathe. And then again, pulling our navel in, coming back up. Let's do that long stretch one more time. And then we're going to open up everything one more time by coming into our bridge pose again. Hands by our side, feet where we can touch our fingertips. Inhale up. And again, using props here as we need to. 5 3-part breaths right here. Now, some people don't breathe as deeply. And that's okay. Then you may just take a few more breaths. And let's come on down. And now we've gone 10 minutes doing stuff on our back, including our inversion, which lasted about 3 to 5. So now we're going to move into our final relaxation. So variations on this, we can stay right here with our knees up, arms out by our side, closer into the body or on the belly. Traditionally, this is going to be our corpse pose right here on our backs, but we can also have stuff underneath our knees as props. Again, if our lower back feels better, we can take it here. Some people may go legs up the wall. It just, whatever feels comfortable and relaxing. Some people even come to an easy seat. I'm just going to kind of take it right here today. So give people the time that I was just talking to make their way into whatever pose they're going to do, using whatever props or covers. This is a good place to put socks and shoes back on, a blanket, things like that. So give people time to get situated in whatever way that they need to do this. And by now, they should be. Let's go ahead and close our eyes. And we want to relax our breath, just let it come naturally. Allowing our belly to soften. And then we just want to encourage people to let go and truly relax the body in this pose. So we want to begin by releasing our legs. We always start at our feet and work up, so legs. And then releasing our arms. Allowing our head to roll back so that we relax the muscles of our neck. And we want to keep the muscles of our face soft. Allowing our body to be still. And let's see if we can get our mind to be still as well. So ordinarily, we would spend about 2 minutes lying back like this, but for the sake of the video, let's say that we've done that. So if it's been 2 or 3 minutes, we don't want anybody coming up too fast. But when we do, we want to start being aware of our breath and maybe breathing into our belly. And then we start with our fingers and toes, especially if we're ever in a longer Shavasana. We want to start with fingers and toes. And then move our arms and legs, which would usually be here. And then just kind of listen to our own body. I usually feel like a big stretch. Sometimes a yawn. You never know. Some people like to go here. So just listening to our own body, but staying on the floor. Really encourage people to stay on the floor at this point. And then take their time, hugging in the knees, rolling over to one side. And it doesn't really matter which side. I usually go whichever side is facing the group. To promote relaxation of the body, we would actually roll over to the right side because gravity would open up the left nostril for relaxation breathing. But since a lot of people are going to get up and be more active since we have our classes in the morning, opening up the right nostril builds that energy. And I usually go by whichever nostril is blocked. I'll roll over to the opposite side to let gravity pull the mucus out so I can breathe. So whatever side they want to go to. And then when we're ready, we'll use our top hand to push up. And then we'll come right back to where we started today. Anyway, that comfortable seat, grounded sit bones, lengthened spine, and just closing our eyes again. Giving ourselves a moment to really integrate the practice, checking in with our body again, seeing how it's feeling now compared to an hour ago, seeing how our mind is feeling compared to an hour ago. Hopefully both are feeling more at ease. And then I generally end asking the whole group to take an inhale together. So give yourself a few seconds to exhale. And then we inhale. And exhale, hands to our heart in that Namaskar Mudra that we use for our greeting of Namaste. All right, so I hope this helps those of you who are learning to teach. This is a basic format class that you can use when it's your turn to be in this spot. And those of you who aren't learning to teach yet, I hope you learned a few extra little neat things that help enhance your personal practice of yoga. Namaste.